Hello everybody. Today we're going to be creating our op art circles. You'll remember that op art stands for optical illusion art. That means it tricks the eye. If I look at this example, it looks like this circle is popping off the page, but in reality, it's flat. It's tricking the eye into thinking it's seeing something that's not actually there. For this project, you will only need some simple materials: a pencil, an eraser, a ruler, and if you don't have one like this, any ruler will work. And then you'll need a few circle tracers, just something where you can trace in different sizes so you can get a variety of circles. The first thing I'm going to do on my paper is lay out my circles. I know when we were in class, we started with the ruler and drawing our grid, but I think that this way it'll be a little easier for everybody. So I'm just going to start by placing my tracer down, and I'm going to carefully trace my circle. Okay, maybe I'll do another one over here. Change it up, give me some small circles. Maybe I'll even do another one over here. Okay, and just make sure none of your circles go off the page. I know that we can't see it. I'm gonna move it up a little bit. There we go. So I'm lining it up perfectly on the edge of my paper, and I'm going to draw my line across. When I get to my circle, I'm going to stop and I'm going to continue around it. Okay, then I'm going to take my ruler and shift it up. See how now it looks like the circle is in front? I'm going to keep doing this. So I'm going to perfectly line up the edge here, go across, stop at the circle, and continue, and keep moving all the way up my paper, just like this, making sure I hold that ruler nice and tight. And I'm now going around, because there's a lot of circles, I'm going around each one. So see now how the line does not go through any of the circles? We won't have to do any erasing with this method, which I think will make your lives so much easier. You are so welcome for this. And I'm just going to keep going all the way up to the edge of the paper, just making sure that wherever there is a circle, I am not going through it. Okay, and I'm making sure that I line it up perfect, and I take my time. I hold that ruler very tightly so it doesn't shift. I shift my hand down so I can still hold it tight, otherwise it might move. And I'm going to keep going all the way up. Now, if you have this tiny little rectangle at the top, this might happen when we're doing our grid. Just leave it. Don't worry if it's not the full size of these guys. It'll all be okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my paper to make it easy. I'm cleaning up my workspace a little bit. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, except this time I'm starting on this end, lining it up perfectly with the edge of my paper to make sure it's nice and straight. And I'm going to start creating my lines that are now going to go this way. Same thing. When I get to a circle, I am not going to put that line through it. I'm going to stop, and keep going. So now I have my entire grid in my background and all of my circles. And now that they are empty, I don't have to go back and erase out all of those lines. They're perfect and they're ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is I want to make these circles look like they're curved. So the way that I do this is really easy. I'm going to take my ruler. Actually, I'm going to look. And if I can kind of figure out where the center of my circle is just by looking at it, I could put a dot there. If you want to measure your circle to figure out what the center is, you can do that. Mine's 3.5, so I can divide that by 2 and find the middle circle that way. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, and then I'm going to make a lowercase t or a cross shape in the center. So I'm going to go this way, and then I'm going to go this way. I am using the ruler to help me draw these lines to keep them nice and straight. That's super important. Then I'm going to look at this top point and this bottom point. I'm putting little dots there just so I remember that those are the two I want to connect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rainbow line that connects from this side to this point. So from point to point. Then I'm going to do it again. And in this circle, I can only fit 2. So I'm going to flip it over. A smart artist always turns their paper to make it easy. So I have one curve going this way, and then I'm going to do one more, and making sure that they both start and end at that point. Okay? They don't have to be perfectly even. It's okay. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the points on this side and this side. So I'm almost creating like a checkerboard. We have a checkerboard in the background. I need a checkerboard in my circles. Because my circles are round, my checkerboard lines have to be curved. That's all we're doing. So from this side to this side, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to make a curve line that goes like this from point to point. Do the same thing on the other side, point to point. And then I'm going to repeat on this side from that dot to that dot. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here from point to point. Now you can kind of see that circle is kind of becoming a sphere. It's becoming more three-dimensional, okay? This is what's going to help us to make that optical illusion pop, all right? It's going to trick our eye. I'm going to do the exact same thing to every one of my circles. Okay, now all of my circles are completely drawn in with their lines. So now we're done drawing. The only thing left to do is add some color. You are going to do this in one color plus white. We're going to leave part of this white in our checkerboard pattern. I'm using black, but you can use whatever color you want. You can use a pink, you can use a red, you can use orange, you can use purple, blue, whatever you have. Some of you might have a black Sharpie marker at home. You can use a black Sharpie, whatever color you'd like. But here's how you're going to do it to make the checkerboard. All right, there's a really simple rule to help you. I always like to start on the corner first just to keep myself organized. You're going to alternate boxes. So if I'm coloring in this box black, this one's going to stay white. I'm going to skip it. This one will be black. Then I'm going to skip black, skip black, skip black, skip black, skip black, skip black. I just put a little X in there just so that I know which ones need to be colored. You could do the same thing by using just a small dot if you don't want to do that. Then I'm going to take my time and I'm going to put a piece of paper underneath just so it keeps my surface clean. And I sometimes like to outline my box first just to help me stay a bit neater. And then I'm going to just use my marker to color in all of those boxes that I put an X or a small dot in. Trust me, it's going to help you so much until you get the hang of how this checkerboard pattern works. I'm going to do one more because then I'm going to show you how we do the second line. So I'm just going to color this guy in. I put that little paper underneath there so I could go right off the page and I don't have to worry about ruining my table. Remember, if you're using Sharpie markers, go nice and slow. Sharpie markers like to work at a slow pace. Okay. Now that I have some of these in, here's the trick. I can start right at the beginning, and I should know that instead of starting with black, I'm going to have to start with a white checkerboard, which means I'll go white, black, white, black, white, black. There is still a square underneath that circle. You have to count it. So see this one here? That means that the square right here would be white. Since this one is white, it means this one back here has to be black. Another trick to let me know that is, see the corners here of your black square? They are always going to touch another black square. The sides will never touch another black square, but the corners will. That means this corner, I now know that this square right here behind this circle is going to be black. And notice I am not touching anything inside that circle. I am only working on the background. That's super important. Then I'm going to color this rectangle or square just like this. Okay, that's why I outline them first, just to make sure that I'm nice and neat and I don't get any of that color accidentally into the other squares that have to stay white. But now you will see, do you see how the corners match up? Now this one matched. This has another corner which will match here. It works because if I go with my pattern, black, white, black, white, black, those corners match. White, black. This corner matches here and here. These two corner matches. Okay. So coloring in your background squares is going to take you some time. I've zoomed in because I want to show you how we're going to do the circles. Okay? I'm going to start with the same idea. I'm going to pick a square to start with that's going to be black. I like to start in the middle. It's the biggest one. It's the easiest for me to start with. I'm going to carefully trace that box to make sure I don't get any of my color into any of my other boxes. Now, with the rule, I know that each side has to be white. It's a pattern. So if I have black, white, black, this tiny little piece right here has to be black, black, white, black, white, black. And I'm just going in a line. I'm just following exactly across that straight line in the center. Now I know that this will be white. There's none left, okay? I know that two blacks cannot touch, right? They can only touch at the corners, which means this guy right here is going to be another black square. So I'm going to color them in. And if I did it right, this one should also line up at the corner. And it does. Now I can follow my pattern. Black, white, black. This tiny little triangle in here. And then I'm going to go the other way. Black, white, black. And if I'm doing it right, just the corners of those two black squares on the top should touch this black square. Do you see how I'm starting to make a checkerboard pattern inside my circle? I'm going to continue doing this. Up here, two blacks cannot touch, but their corners can. These two corners go right into this shape. So I'm going to color in this shape super carefully with my black marker. Black, white, black. Now this is a pretty long shape. Doesn't matter. It's still part of that line, and I'm coloring in the whole thing. Black, white, black. This one also has to be black. And I'll know if I'm doing it right if my corners are the only parts that match up. Okay? I know that whatever's white here, black's going to be on the other side. It's going to be opposite. So I know that this shape right here is black. Black, white, black. Even if it's a tiny shape, still counts. Now, this is going to stay white. Black, white, black. Ah, but this big shape is going to be black on this side. They might not always match up. Totally okay. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Can't be black right underneath it. Can't touch. So I know that it has to be here. These corners touch it. This has to be the black square. And I'm using black and white, but like I said to you guys, you can use another color with white. So then this might be like purple and white, or yellow and white. Yellow and white's not a good example, but like a blue and a white, or a green and a white. Okay? Then I'm going to do my pattern, black, white, black. This guy over here. Black, white, black has to go here. And I'm really taking my time. You are going to have to think about this because you want to make sure you're putting your colors in the right boxes. That's going to stay white. Now I'm going to my last one. This has to be black because it's right next to the white. They have to be opposite. Black, white. This big part right here has to be black. So I'm coloring it in, taking my time. And then on the next side, if this one is black, I know black, white. This also has to be black. And then that's going to stay white. You can kind of see it taking shape. So once that's done, we have one last step to complete our circle. Then you will repeat this on all of the other circles. Any pencil lines that you see in your circle, I'm going to take out. So I'm going to take out that big pencil line that I saw there, and I'm just going to give it one good erase so that all that's left is my black lines. Now I'm going to take my pencil, and this is how we're really going to get those circles to pop off the page. We're going to add some shading. Shading is important because that is what gives the illusion that these circles aren't just part of the grid, they're floating above the grid. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to use the side of it. And I'm going to decide where I want my shadow to be. wherever I decide that I want my shadow to be on the first circle, it has to be on that same side for all the rest of your circles. I can't change the side that it's on, otherwise the illusion won't work. I have to pick a side. So for me, I'm going to keep it right on the bottom. All right, so I'm going to turn my paper and I'm going to start, and I'm going to color right over the black. And I'm going to start to curve my pencil using the side of my pencil, and I'm going to start to add a dark shadow right underneath my circle. And then what I'm going to start to do is I kind of like to get a little bit lighter. So all I'm doing is I'm not pressing as hard on my pencil. So I get a little bit of a lighter color with my pencil. So even though I have just one pencil, I can get all these different shades. Okay, and I'm going to press really light so it looks very light on the end. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I can take a tissue, or I can use my finger. I'm going to use a tissue so I don't get messy. And I'm going to start to blend this out by moving my finger back and forth with that curved shape. I'm just following the curve of my circle. I'm starting to put that shadow underneath. Do you see how the shadow is starting to take form? It even made a little bit of that shadow pop into my circle. That's totally fine, because I'm even going to add really lightly some shadows on top of my circle. So I'm just going to turn my paper because I want to turn it to where it's easier for me to move my arm to get those curves. I'm going to take my tissue again, and I'm just going to blend that out. And what you will start to notice is with that little bit of shadow added, that circle is going to pop off the page. This you will continue on each one of your circles. Remember, since I put my shadow on the bottom of my circle, I will have to do the shadow in that same spot on all the rest of my circles. Okay, have fun with this, guys. I know it's going to take you a little bit of time, so just do your best, and I can't wait to see them when they're done.